Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Halim Adinata. I am from Universitas Sriwijaya, and my student number is 0601128202520. And this video is the assignment from Miss Hasti Wahyuni Anggraini SPD MPD for the Speaking for Academic Purposes subject. And my material is about using games in English language teaching or ELT. Okay, here is the table of contents. The first is definition of game. Second is the reason of using game in ELT. And the third is activities of using game in ELT. And the last or the fourth is notes for teacher before using game in ELT or English language teaching. Okay, the first is definition of game. Here is the definition. Game is a structured form of play, usually undertaken for entertainment or fun, and sometimes used as an educational tool. Okay, let's move to the reasons of using games in ELT. As we can see, there are four reasons of using game in ELT. The first is game is fun and relaxing. And the second is they are motivating and challenging. The next reason is game encourage students to interact and communicate. And the last reason is games are motivating and challenging. Okay. Uh, The next is about activities of using game in ELT. But before we move to the activities, I choose three games. Uh, I choose three games that will be used in English language teaching. The first game is Simon Says. The second is IC, and the third is Hangman Games. Those are the name of the game. The first is Simon Says. The steps for using Simon Says in English language teaching is the first is you as a teacher can stand in front of the class and be Simon during this game. Make sure that all your students stand in their place. Furthermore, if you say Simon says, then it must be continued with certain movements according to what was said. For example, Simon says raise your hand. Then all participants must raise their hand. And the third is every now and then. I mean sometimes you can say the movement without Simon says. Then the student who makes the move uh, when we do not say Simon says, they are loose and has to sit down. They lose and has to sit down. The winner is the student who is still standing until the end of the game. And the first step is to make the game more challenging. You can say it quickly in English. And the last step is you can also appoint one of the students to be Simon and give instruction as you do and reward the students. Okay, let's move to the next game. The next game is IC. IC is the name of the game. Okay, the steps are the first is students are divided into several groups. Each group line up with the group leader in front. So the leader stand in front, and the third is the teacher determines whether the students will run or walk. by paying attention to the situation and condition of the class. And the third is when the teacher says, I see something like table, map, clock, blackboard, or other objects in the classroom. The students at the very front of each group compete to touch the objects mentioned, the object that has been mentioned by the teacher. The first student that can hold the object get, gets point for his group. Students who have touched the object call return to the group with the most backward position. And I think the winner of these games are the group that reached the the most the most point. Okay, let's move to the next game. Next game is about hangman games. The steps of hangman games are: the first is you can choose a word and then write it on the board using a dotted line to indicate the number of letters. Below the dotted line or the blank line, write a number to make it easier for students to guess. Each group line up with the group leader in front. Second is invite students to guess the letters in the word. If the guess is correct, then write above the line. If the guess is wrong, then write in the blank space and start drawing the hangman. And the last steps is students continue to guess until the word can be guessed correctly, meaning the student wins if the guess is wrong until the hangman picture is completed. It means that the students lost. I think that's all for the activities of using games in ELP. And here are some notes for teacher before using games in ELP. In using games for learning, teachers need to pay attention to several things, including instruction, classroom settings, and the suitability of games with learning objectives. Okay, I think that's all from my material about using games in ELT. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.